Do you remember the exact moment your family decided you were disposable? I do. It tasted like canned cranberry sauce and smelled like the pine candle. Mom only lit when company was coming. My name is Mara, and if you are still brave enough to stick around, I will tell you why I was not at the table last Thursday, why the cops rang the doorbell before the turkey was carved, and why my sister's boyfriend whispered something to me in the laundry room that flipped the whole weekend and the rest of our lives inside out. Smash that like button if twisted family dinners are your thing, because man, you have no idea how twisted this one got. I grew up in Pine Ridge, a one-stoplight town 2 hours north of Detroit where everybody waves at passing cars even when they cannot see who is inside. Dad manages the local hardware store. Mom teaches second grade, and my older sister, Cora, was the kind of golden child who could set the kitchen on fire and still get praised for trying to cook. Me, I was the afterthought. The kid who fixed the toaster Cora broke. The kid who heard, "Why can't you smile more like your sister?" every time family photos came around. I am not asking for pity. I am just setting the scene so you understand how easy it was for them to erase me. 3 years ago, Cora started dating this guy named Eli, a carpenter who smelled like sawdust and secrets. He was quiet in that way that makes everybody lean in, like whatever he was not saying must be important. Cora brought him home for the 4th of July, and by Labor Day, Mom was mailing him thinking of you cards. I caught him watching me a couple times. Not in a creepy way, more like he was taking notes. I figured he was just trying to read the family dynamics, so he could stay on the winning team. Can't blame him for that. Anybody could see Cora was the fast lane to approval. Fast forward to this October. I had just broken up with my fiancé, Derek, after I found out he was Venmoing money to a girl from his CrossFit box named Kels, who apparently needed help with her macros. I moved back into the spare room above Dad's garage, the one that still smells like the dead squirrel that got trapped in the wall when I was 12. Mom said, "Just until you get back on your feet," but her tone said, "Please disappear before the holidays." I promised myself I would be gone by Christmas, but I still needed Thanksgiving because, well, tradition is the only life raft we all pretend floats. The invitation came via group text, the lazy way. Mom wrote, "Thanksgiving at our place, noon. Bring nothing, just your smile." I replied with a thumbs up and a pumpkin pie emoji. Then I stared at my phone for 5 full minutes waiting for somebody to acknowledge me. Radio silence. Whatever, I told myself. You are 28, not 8. But man, it stung the same way it did when they forgot to pick me up from softball practice. I worked the week leading up to the holiday at the library, a job so quiet you can hear your own regrets echo. On Tuesday night, I was shelving true crime paperbacks when Eli walked in, toolbox in hand. Dad had hired him to fix the squeaky back porch before company arrived. He nodded at me, disappeared into the stacks, and then suddenly he was there again, holding a copy of In Cold Blood like it was a birthday cake. He said, "You ever read this?" I told him I had twice. He smiled, small and crooked, and said, "Figures. You always looked like somebody who appreciates a good confession." I laughed because I thought it was a joke. But later I replayed the way he said confession and felt something cold bloom across my shoulder blades. Wednesday I baked a pie anyway, because I wanted to show them I was fine, that Derek had not flattened me, that I still knew how to make flaky crust. Cora came over to borrow Mom's deviled egg tray and saw the pie cooling on the counter. She scrunched her nose and said, "You are bringing store rolls, right? Mom wants everything to match this year." I told her I thought homemade showed effort. She fake smiled and said, "Sometimes effort is embarrassing, Mara." Then she snapped a selfie with my pie, posted it to her story with the caption, "Practice run for tomorrow," and did not tag me. I should have seen that as the first red flag, but I was colorblind when it came to family. Thanksgiving morning, I showered with the garage's moldy curtain, suctioning to my legs, and put on the only dress I owned that still fit, navy polyester. Smells like attic. I grabbed the pie, a bottle of cheap Pinot, and the rolled-up quilt I had finished hand-stitching for Mom's Christmas gift. I figured I could give it early, so she would have something to brag about when her sisters called. I walked the half-mile to the house, leaves like wet cornflakes under my boots, rehearsing cheerful sentences in my head. The Macy's parade dragon looked drunk this year. I am applying to grad school. No, Derek and I are on a break, but I am rediscovering me. I wanted to sound light, like somebody you do not worry about. I knocked. Dad opened the door in his turkey apron, the one that says Chief Carver. Behind him, the living room glowed with string lights and cinnamon candles. He did not step aside. Instead, he said, "Mara, we need to talk." My stomach dropped like an elevator with cut cables. He gestured to the porch swing. So I set the pie on the wicker table and sat, fingers already numb. Mom came out holding a dish towel like a shield. Cora hovered by the storm door, phone up, recording. I swear my first thought was, this is how an intervention feels, but I had not done anything but exist. Dad cleared his throat and said, "Your sister's boyfriend feels uncomfortable around you." I blinked so hard my eyelashes tangled. "He says you have been making advances, texting him late at night, showing up at job sites." I laughed, one sharp bark because it was so insane. I told them I had Eli's number only because Mom asked me to send him the grocery list last week. Mom looked at the floorboards and said, "We think it is best you not come in today. We do not want drama." I felt my smile fracture. I asked if they were uninviting me from Thanksgiving. Cora piped up, "You embarrass me. Mara, you always have to be the center, even when you pretend to be helpful." She pointed at my pie. "That stunt with the dessert? So obvious." Dad handed me a foil-covered plate with a turkey slice, a spoonful of dressing and a single roll. "For later," he said. Then they went inside and locked the door. I heard the deadbolt click like a gunshot finale. I stood on the porch for a full minute, maybe 2, holding that sad plate, staring at my own reflection in the glass. Inside, cousins. I had not seen since Grandma's funeral raised wine glasses in a toast. I could not hear. I left the pie. I figured they could choke on it. I walked back to the garage, numb but vibrating, like my skin had been peeled off and sprinkled with road salt. I set the foil plate on the workbench, stared at Dad's circular saw, and imagined carving my name into the wall. Instead, I opened my laptop, typed revenge ideas into the search bar, then deleted it because even my browser history felt judged. I scrolled through old texts and realized Eli had never actually texted me first. Every thread was group logistics, or Mom nagging me to send him links. So where were the late-night advances? Had he faked screenshots? And why now? I poured the Pinot into a mason jar, drank it like apple juice, and paced the freezing room until the walls leaned inward. Then my phone buzzed. An Instagram DM from Eli. "Back porch. 10 minutes. Come alone." I stared at it so long the screen auto-dimmed. My gut screamed trap, but my chest screamed answers. I slipped out, cutting through the pine trees so the windows would not spotlight me. Eli stood under the yellow bug light, hands jammed in coat pockets, breath fogging. He looked smaller, almost boyish. He said, "Your family is lying about me and I can prove it." I crossed my arms, heart hammering against my ribs like it wanted out. He pulled out his phone, opened a voice note app, and hit play. Cora's voice honey slick. "If you say Mara hit on you, Mom and Dad will finally cut her off. Then we can move into the lake house like we planned. Just stick to the story, babe. It's one dinner." The recording ended. My ears rang. I whispered, "Why are you showing me this?" Eli's eyes were glassy, ashamed. "Because I thought I loved her. But I am not ruining an innocent person for a house with moldy wicker furniture." He added that Cora had been feeding them lies for weeks, building a case so they would sign the deed over to her, before Mara manipulates them into leaving her everything. He said he tried to back out this morning and Cora threatened to tell everybody he hit her. He was trapped, same as me, only he had evidence. Part of me wanted to hug him. Part wanted to shove him into the frozen koi pond. I asked, "What do you want from me?" He said, "Help me expose her tonight. Right now, while the family is buzzed on Beaujolais. Then I will walk away from all of you and never look back." I laughed, bitter and wet. "Expose her how? You think they will choose me over Golden Child? They just exiled me over imaginary texts." He pulled a tiny flash drive from his boot, security cam footage from the library parking lot. "Tuesday night, Cora met Derek, your ex. They exchanged envelopes. Looks like cash for photos. I think she paid him to stage screenshots of you sexting. The timestamps match the ones she showed your parents. My lungs forgot how to inflate. Derek, the guy who cried when his dog had allergies, had sold me for what? A couple grand and free CrossFit lessons? I took the drive, metal cold as a bullet. Eli said, "Library's Wi-Fi is still on. We can airplay the clip to the TV. Your dad loves casting parade videos. The input is already set. We just need 60 seconds. I looked at the house, windows warm and laughing, and felt something inside me unhook. I told him, "Fine, but if this backfires, I am taking you down with me." He nodded once, jaw tight. We shook on it, gloves slippery with night frost, and the pact felt ancient, like we had already committed a blood crime. We slipped in through the sliding basement door Eli had fixed last summer. He knew which treads creaked. From the stairwell, we heard Mom bragging about Cora's new promotion. She'll be district manager by 30. And Dad bragging about Eli's craftsmanship. Cora's laugh tinkled like wind chimes made of knives. We crept into Dad's den, heartbeats so loud I expected alarms. Eli inserted the drive, opened the file, and there on the 40-inch screen was Cora in her leopard coat, sliding a white envelope to Derek through the driver's side window of his lifted Jeep. You could not see Cash, but you could read her lips. Make sure the screenshots look filthy. Eli hit pause, zoomed, screen frozen on her sneer. He whispered, "Ready?" I nodded, though every cell vibrated with terror. He airplayed it to the living room TV. At first nobody noticed. They were plating marshmallow yams. Then Cousin Leo pointed and yelled, "Hey, parade footage already?" The room quieted, heads turned, and the video rolled in high-def glory. I stepped into the doorway just as Cora's recorded voice said, "Make sure the screenshots look filthy." Mom gasped, hand to pearls. Dad's wineglass tilted, Merlot bleeding into the cream carpet like crime scene splatter. Cora shrieked, "Turn it off!" But Eli held the remote high. I walked straight to the center of the room, arms limp, and said, "Happy Thanksgiving, everybody." Pass the shame while it's hot. You could hear the oven timer ding in the silence. Cora lunged at me, nails clawing, but Eli caught her waist. She screamed, "She forged that! She is obsessed with ruining me." Mom started sobbing. I don't understand. Dad looked at me like I was a stranger holding his unlocked diary. I pointed at the screen, now paused on Derek's grin. "That is your golden child hiring my ex to fabricate evidence so you would disinherit me. Ask yourselves why she needs me gone so badly." Cora thrashed, knocking over a ceramic turkey. Shards flew like shrapnel. Aunt Diane whispered, "Maybe we should go." But nobody moved. We were all rubbernecking the wreck we finally deserved. Dad found his voice, gravel and ghost. "Cora, is that true?" She folded so fast I almost pitied her. Between gasps, she confessed. She owed $40,000 in credit card debt from keeping up influencer appearances, had refinanced the lake house in Mom's name without telling them. And if the folks sold it to cover her mess, she would lose her perfect life. Her plan was to paint me as the unstable one, coax them to sign the deed to her, then flip the property, pay debts, and walk away spotless. Eli was supposed to be the reliable witness, the outsider corroborating my harassment. When he hesitated, she threatened to cry abuse. She finished with, "I was protecting the family reputation." Mom slapped her open palm, sound like a wet towel snapping. The room inhaled as one. I expected fireworks inside my skull. Victory, vindication. Instead, I felt hollow, like I had chased a ghost only to find moldy bones. Dad stumbled to me, arms wide, saying, "Mara, I am so sorry." But I stepped back. The apology I had craved my entire life landed stale, too late to nourish anything. I looked at the foil-covered plate still sitting on the entry table, my single serve, pity dinner, and I laughed until my ribs cramped. I asked, "Do I get to come inside now, or do you still find me embarrassing?" Nobody answered. Shame is a mute monster. I turned to leave, but Eli caught my elbow. He whispered, "We're not done." I did not know what he meant, and honestly, I did not care. My adrenaline tank was on fumes. Then the front door burst open and Derek stormed in, face flushed. CrossFit hoodie clinging to his steroid-pumped chest. He pointed at the screen and yelled, "That footage is stolen! You invaded privacy, I'm calling the cops." I guess Cora had texted him the second the video rolled. He barreled toward me like I was a sled push exercise. Eli stepped between us, but Derek shoved him into the entertainment center. Dad's antique receiver crashed, wood splintering. Women screamed, men shouted. Derek grabbed my wrist, twisting until the bones sang. He hissed, "You owe me, Mara. You ruined my side hustle." I spat in his face, a reflex as natural as breathing. He raised his fist, and for a frozen heartbeat, I saw the old life I almost married flashing. Bruises covered by foundation, excuses made to friends. Then something snapped, not in me, in the room. Cousin Leo, the one we all dismissed as a harmless stoner, swung the electric carving knife like a sci-fi sword and pressed it to Derek's neck. He said, calm as NPR, "Let her go or I open you like a bag of Doritos." Derek released me, hands up, turkey grease gleaming on his skin. Leo looked at me and shrugged. Always hated that dude. I almost smiled, but sirens wailed outside. Somebody had dialed 911. When the screaming started, red and blue lights painted the windows like disco hell. Derek bolted for the kitchen, slipping on yams, face planting into the oven door. Officers stormed in, guns drawn, shouting, "Everybody freeze!" In the chaos, they cuffed Derek for assault, cuffed Cora for fraud after Dad handed over the security drive copies, and cuffed Leo because, well, you can't wave a blade around even in Thanksgiving self-defense. They asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes to all of it, my voice steady as a metronome. Mom sat on the staircase, mascara dripping onto her cream blouse, repeating, my babies, like a broken rosary. Dad stared at the shattered turkey platter, probably calculating how many hardware store shifts would pay for a new one. Paramedics checked Eli's head. He declined the hospital, signed a waiver, then walked over and handed me the flash drive again. "For your peace," he said. I slipped it into my dress pocket, next to my phone that still held the group text uninviting me. An officer asked if I needed medical attention. I showed him the bruises blooming on my wrist and told him, "Just document it, please." He snapped photos with gentle solemnity, as if recording evidence for every time my family had twisted my arm emotionally. They took Derek and Cora away in separate cars, her leopard coat flapping like a trapped moth, him yelling about lawyers. Neighbors gathered on the lawn, phones up, holiday gossip secured for the next decade. I stood on the porch, breath fogging, dress sticking to my sweaty back despite the frost. Aunt Diane touched my shoulder and said, "Come to my place, honey." We got vegan lasagna, but I declined. I did not want substitute warmth. I wanted the real thing or nothing at all. Eli and I walked back to the garage in silence, boots crunching frozen leaves. Inside, he sat on the workbench stool while I found the foil plate, now cold and congealed. I offered him half the roll. He took it without asking why. We ate like war refugees, chewing in slow reverence. After the last bite, he said, "I'm leaving town tonight. Got a job offer in Oregon. If you want out, I can wait while you pack." I studied his face, cut lip, bruised cheek, eyes bright with possibility, and I realized he was not offering romance. He was offering witness protection from my own DNA. I told him I needed to finish something first. We drove to the library in his pickup, flash drive between us like a shared pacemaker. I uploaded the entire video to every cloud I owned, emailed copies to myself, to Aunt Diane, to the local paper's tip line, and why not, to Cora's boss. Revenge is only revenge if it survives hard drive crashes. Then I deleted every family contact from my phone. One by one, names glowing then gone like dying stars. Eli waited, engine idling, heater blasting the smell of pine. When I got back in, he asked, "Feel better?" I said, "Feel empty," but empty was cleaner than full of them. We returned to find the house dark, crime scene tape fluttering like dollar store streamers. I snuck upstairs to the room that used to be mine, now an exercise space for Mom's yoga DVDs. I took only 3 things: the quilt I had stitched, a photo of Grandma and me baking cookies, and the ceramic angel I made in 5th grade that Mom always hated. I left the navy dress in a puddle on the floor, a shed skin. Downstairs, I wrote a note on the back of Dad's turkey apron. "I hope the lake house keeps you afloat. Don't call unless you are ready to earn back a daughter." I hung the apron on the doorknob, a white flag surrender in reverse. Eli and I hit I-75 north by midnight, windshield glittering with sleet. He drove while I stitched the remaining squares of my quilt by dome light, thread trembling but steady. Somewhere past Saginaw, I asked, "Why did you really help me?" He kept his eyes on the road. "Because I know what it's like to be the story everybody tells to protect the real villain. Figured you deserved one witness who refused to edit the truth." I nodded, throat too tight for words. At the Ohio border, I finally slept, cheek against cool glass, dreams a tangle of carving, knives and flash drives unlocked, doors that opened onto open highways. We parted ways in Chicago. He caught a train west. I found a studio sublet from a woman who did not ask questions when I paid. First month in cash. I work at a bookstore now, minimum wage, lungs breathing air nobody has exhaled before. Some nights I scroll headlines. Local teacher's daughter indicted in fraud scheme. Carpenter testifies against ex-girlfriend. Thanks.